What is up, YouTube? It's your boy Millsy. Back on Talk Commander, back for another episode of Let's Playtest, the show where we get together for some time, playtest some decks, and talk about the Commander format. Pretty excited to playtest the decks we're playtesting tonight. Um, One of them is, really fits the theme of this week. Kind of in this week, right on the channel, we talked about Doran and Fangorn and some of these high toughness lists. So we're going to talk about Betor tonight. And then finally got around to re-recording my mess up that I had on Hey Bay back from Avatar, and just wanted to mess around with it. Goshintai is a commander I've had for a while, and it's a deck I really enjoy. And I thought it'd be fun to talk about Hey Bay some more, just kind of see what we think of it. How does it function? Do I like it better or not as much? I think it's interesting, right, to have that blink shell and utilize that. So we'll talk about that and run through it. But first up tonight, we're going to talk about Betor. Now, I think I mentioned it on the channel once or twice, but my goal ever since Tarkir came out was to find a deck for each of the 5 Tarkir clans, and 3 of them I have pretty well established. I think I'm pretty happy and pretty content with 3 of them, but it's been Jeskai and Abzan that I've just taken my time with finding, whether I've tried a few decks or I might go back to some. For Abzan, I tried Felithar. I think Felithar was fun. I liked the counters theme, but I thought maybe we'd switch it up, try something different. And with the new Doran out of Lorwyn and just some of the support, right, that we got out of Tarkir with Felithar, right, and all the new Toughness Matter stuff, I've enjoyed messing around with Betor. I think the big thing that I tried to do this time with Betor versus last time was just trying to add more protection. I think this is just the kind of deck that needs to stay alive. Right, you need to keep your creatures out there in order to profit. I also kind of pushed myself away from the defender shell. I think it's easy just to slam a bunch of defenders in here, but we don't. As much as we have a bunch of abilities that can let defenders attack, it's not really what I wanted to do. I kind of really wanted to try to find more creatures that really profited from their high toughness and that could still attack, so we could still take advantage of their abilities or their toughnesses once we get, the classic toughness effects out there. The second was leaning into the life, the life gainy type combo, the exquisite bloods, the bloodthirsty conqueror, that kind of thing. Obviously, our opponents are going to be losing half their life total. If we can gain it back, it's going to really help. Of course, we're playing the Akhlazat's combo to have your opponents lose, all their life total if Betor can go off. But I want to see kind of what that added extra support for the life loss will do, and kind of see if we can kind of jumpstart it that way. And I think the new Doran will actually help a ton with your creatures getting that buff and getting harder to deal with. And remember that Doran's buff is until end of turn, so it's actually going to lay out better for us because then you have a better chance of hitting 40 earlier. So it's one of those effects I think could be really interesting. Playtest 1, 4-landers. We're just almost there on Ashaya. We see Krishadiki, we see the Indomitables, and we can actually play it, right? So that's not bad at all. Turn 1, we see Fakoon Greenshell. A very interesting card. I think it's probably one of my favorites of these high toughness matters kind of cards because I think it just profits so much. I guess there's an argument for the Felithar here. Betor doesn't, it doesn't actually set up the high toughness defense stuff. It just gets down. So what makes more sense? The Indomitables, the Ancients, or the Felithar? I guess probably next turn the plan is, I guess it could be Fakoon Greenshell or Betor, right? So I guess we just probably need to sit here and decide what the plan's going to be. I like the idea of this. It probably just leads to more damage. Whereas this turn, when you slam something like the Greenshell, there we go, just nets us that extra land. And then as we come into turn 6 here, we have the Besaju that we could play. So let's see, 11 toughness, Betor would make it 18. It would also get another Greenshell trigger. which doesn't hit us a land, but that's a-okay. We means we do have an extra mana up for the path. But if I play this Beseiju, I have the option for the Eladamri's Call, so I could hold these two up. So that would lead us to being closer to our, our combo line. So what would make the most sense if I were to use this Eladamri's Call? I'm sitting at 7 mana, so obviously, Aklazat's is one of the high end options, but being only at 19, I need 21 toughness, and Aklazat's is only 4. So that's not obviously the most useful choice. If I go with Shaya's a 7, 8, 9, 10, which would make me, 16, 21, 28. And Aklazat's would bring it to 32, so we'd be close. I guess that would only net us 1 Fecund trigger, though, right? Obviously, just windmill slamming. Let's see. Ancients plus Doran's 15, 20, 26, 33. So close, right? I'm just trying to think of what line makes the most sense, right? I mean, obviously, we want to get towards, Betor's ability this turn. If I take the call, I mean, that's fun, but we're 1 mana off, right? Just 1 mana off the ball. I mean, say this is the choice, right? Because of the Betor ability being online. I guess we don't necessarily have to play it next turn. We could show our opponents the threat. I guess Adamantoise is an option, but just like Walls, it's 8 mana. We're not guaranteed. We're not guaranteed to hit 8 mana next turn. Now, if we put it in our hand, we might. Is Ouroboros an option? We were sitting at, what did I say? We were sitting at 7 plus 5 is 12. We were sitting at 19. I mean, Ouroboros would be fun. You could go it plus Doran and just set up the board, but I think arguably Aklazat's is just as useful in that scenario. So I think it would just come down to, Doran could be fun. So let's look at this. You get something like Doran. You're getting a +2, +5, +2, so a +7 on the toughness board. 13, 25, 30, 35. So that actually would do it. So if we came to this turn, Doran plus old Doran. It has to attack, though. Sorry. It has to attack. 28. I feel like the answer is still this one to get these 3, but let's see. Piece within hand. Yeah, I think it's still that Doran. We're 2 lands away. But then here the thought is 5, 10, 17, 23, 28. And if these 3 attack, 2, 4, 7, we're at 35. So we're like so close. Just absolutely so close. I feel like we're just probably a little bit too late in the turn there, but okay. And it probably just comes down to searching the wrong thing, not thinking about the right thing, not developing our board the right way. So that's something we get to think about here. I don't know if I can keep that one. I would probably need a green source for that Farseed. This is a bit better. You got multiple fetches to go get our Trilands. We see the Assault Formation. We see the Aklazat. So this could be interesting. I think we just crack the flats, right? Go get the Triome. Ideally, we would have loved to have seen some ramp, but I think we're okay for the moment. Chapel Assault Formation. Anything we're going to do this turn? This might be the turn just to crack the Windswept Heath, go after a Overgrown Tomb. Now, the other thing about this list that's a little bit different from the last time we covered Betor on the channel, which was just back at Avatar, was just adding some different lands and getting some more powerful stuff in. Here, I like the Perdition. So, now if you go into Betor this turn, you're looking at a draw and an untap. And then as you go to this turn, 6 mana. Rapid growth. I mean, obviously, this is what we're looking for, right? 4, 5, 6 mana. I'm thinking Aklazat's plus Voice. Or, I mean, you could Aklazat's plus. So if I don't run Aklazat's out because I don't want to risk it, You know, there's always Voice Fabro, just adds more mana for next turn. You could go Fabro Rampant Growth. I mean, this is coming down as a 3/3, so you'd be looking at 23. I just don't want to run this Blood Letter out if you don't have to, right? You're just basically asking, right, for your opponents to remove it. I guess you have the Flawless. So what, Blood Letter plus Ramp? I don't know if that feels the best either, but maybe we do that just to get another piece in. And then this turn, 1, 2. If I got one green source off of the, so the Fabro would have been the better choice last turn, right, to get this going. But 7 mana, 17, 24. I guess I could do this, but it's what, that. Now you have at least a third green source. So if this had been right, if we'd gone and got a forest, we wouldn't have known, right? Because we didn't know we were going to draw the unnatural growth. Oh, just Tree of Perdition. Oh, I can't believe I missed that. Yeah, you just Tree of Perdition here and swap the life totals. Again, we could still hold up the Flawless here, but then that does it and that guarantees it. I can't believe. I want you to know that I forget about Tree of Perdition so much. Such a great card, right? Especially when you have an opponent that might potentially have a high life total, since we weren't able to hit Betor's drain yet. 4 land of the Exquisite Blood. There's the Frostfang. Knowing our creatures, draws cards as they hit. There's the Deluge. I don't mind this one. Let's see what it gets ourselves into. We see Angel of Destiny off the top. One of my favorite kind of random creatures, can get you some life gain. Bring the fight to our opponents. Yeah, I don't mind the Nature's Lore. Let's see. God of Shrine in hand. Get the Tomb, I guess. This has got to come in tapped. Do we have anything for 3 mana? We don't. So I think we'll just get the Vista in tapped. A little bit awkward there. Okay, turn 5 there. We see the Faber Elder. Gets what? Destiny. Elder plus the Care Lidded, try to attack there. My thought was just trying to get more mana in, right? And then here you've got 3 extra mana, so we got 8 total. But if I play Betor here, then this is 3, 4 mana, right? Just 1 off that Exquisite Bloodbore at 9, 12, 19. So we're not exactly quite there yet. I guess you Rampant, right? Kind of just better try to guarantee our bigger plays next turn. Take an attack with the Destiny again. 13, 16, 19. So we're not going to draw, or we're going to draw off Betor, but we're not going to untap. Coming to this turn, 7 mana. Ooh, love the Doran, but 10, 19. If I just double on the Zope, if I put Zope and draw, we're at 40. Right? At the end of turn because of the double. And you can still take the attack, but that's 3. That's just these. That's just 7. I still have 3, 4 mana left. So you could even still go Doran and then just try to take your big attack this turn. This would get a buff. This would get a buff. They're both unblockable or harder to block. You might even potentially be able to knock somebody out with Angel of Destiny's ability, and then on end step, right, we're going to get to the big 40 toughness ability. I think a lot of this deck's just going to come down to how consistently can you get that ramp going, and that's, I think, what I like about the Defenders package, the Axebane Guardian and things like that. I guess I don't like the negative side of it, the not being able to attack. So I think I just got to kind of try to find my spots in between. I don't mind this one. We got the fetch if we need it. Otherwise, I think this is just a Canopy start. Verge into the Farseek. We'll go get the Triome. Say this turn, I think I'll just crack again and play the Faber Elder just to get ourselves some mana in. 5 for Betor, so now this taps for 3. Get that on and equip just to protect it. It could have Betor attack and you're drawing 1. I gotta remember not to forget the draw because the draw does happen. 3, 4, 5, 3, 6, 9. So we can go Frostfang plus the Mural. So now you're at 11, 17, 20 exactly. So that's kind of interesting. Betor probably has a pretty good chance of hitting in the air this turn, which should draw us a card off the Frostfang. And then on end step, we're going to draw and untap everything, which is nice because you'll have the Feywild now up to play the Anguished if you need to. Now the hope is that Miro can kind of help, I guess, protect ourselves on our turns. But the other nice thing about untapping the Feywild is now you can play the Heroic Intervention as well. So we've kind of got some nice protection. We just need to find a way to get up to 40 or get close to it, right? There's the Eladamri's Call. So you could do this into this for the Zopendrel, and that would get us to 40 this turn. And then you would untap, right, and be able to hold up the protection pieces. Okay, so this one felt a little bit cleaner. I felt like we kind of managed to get through our curve a little bit better. That's the kind of thing we want to see. Nice Mana Dork here in the Adherent. Going to work kind of nice into the Betor right the next turn. Shalai is great to help protect our board. We got the Marsh Flats if we need to go. So I think we're probably just going to Rampant Growth the next turn. Might as well just do that. There's the Nature's Rhythm, which can go digging for another creature as well. I'm kind of excited here because that's a turn 3 Adherent, which is going to lead to a what? Betor turn 4. Now it's tapping for 7. Go Shalai. That'll at least get us the card draw this turn. And then 7, 13 mana. So you could basically go get anything you want off the Rhythm. I mean, probably obviously your best choice would be the Walls of Bossing Say, right? Just to give them all the rest of them indestructible, and then you're guaranteed the 40. But there's a couple other, there's obvious, interesting choices. You're at, what, 15 right now? So I actually think even the Zopendrel would be enough, right? Because that'd be 21, right, doubled to 42. So that would be enough. But I still think, Bossing Say probably makes the most sense. And then remember, you still get the privilege to harmonize Nature's Rhythm, right, back out of the yard, right? So, okay, definitely seeing it more there. Draw, untap, chunk out. And then as we come to our next turn, again, you could tap Nature's Rhythm into the harmonize. So let me just see what it says on the harmonize. You can cast a spell for its harmonized cost. You can tap a creature you control to reduce by that amount of generic mana. So now you could go get a Zopendrel, go get something else with the Rhythm back out of it. I mean, it's your choice now what you want to go get back out of the yard. I think that's what makes Nature's Rhythm so interesting. I got the drawbridge for the haste. Still a 4-lander. I think these are the kind of hands that I'd be intrigued to see if they're still worth this, what we can get out of them here. Get the drawbridge in. Ooh, is it Lumber Knot? I've got to get this bad boy in, get the roots in. I think I meant to do that. Right, so it comes in, because this is going to come in tap. So this turn, do the Lumber Knot. This is going to come in tapped, isn't it? We could go get, it feels weird to go get a basic off this Marsh Flats, but I feel like we need it so that will come in untapped. Get the Betor here. You can tap to give it haste if you want to, so it can attack. Otherwise, we're at 13 or 15. Sorry. So we're still going to draw off of Betor there. Ooh. Exquisite Blood's interesting, but right, we're nowhere near our threshold, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're close. We're getting close to the walls. I love the idea of Toxic Deluge, right? Nice one-sided board wipe potentially could help us out with some of our creatures being bigger. Voice feels kind of nice to protect us on our turn. Hold up the Beseiju maybe and just draw. And then 7 mana. It's one off that wall. 7, 11, 15, 18. Oketra's 24. So we're just that Beseiju away from walls next turn. So do you slam something like that? Obviously, we could equip there, protect Betor. That was an odd one. I feel like we didn't see. I think card draw is something that the more that I playtest the list, the more that I feel like we might be missing out on. So it's something that I think to keep in the back of our head as we run through these playtests is are we drawing enough cards or not? Because I've definitely seen hands where you just stall out and don't draw, which is my thought was something like Orin Frostfang and things like that, just to try to find ways to draw. Three lander here with the voice, I like. Voice is just one of those cards that I think is going to be pretty useful for us to get us not only extra bodies, but give us some of that protection. I don't think there's anything really all that good for me to do on turn 3. We can just hold up the Assassin's Trophy, attack maybe. I really want to play Mural to get the extra bodies, but I guess the Ancients is an argument. Well, the problem is we haven't seen our 5th land. So I want to see Mural just to try to get us the extra bodies. Okay, and we don't see the 5th land, but we do see Doran. Doran can help. We're netting what? 1 soldier this turn? Jeez, missing the lands again. See, do you hold up the interaction or do you try to dig for like? Because we could Nature's Rhythm out like a Fanatic Ronus, which could get us extra mana. I'm trying to decide if it's worth, leaving up the protection or going for that guaranteed. Fanatic Aronis, great Tree Druid, something that's 2 that can tap for mana. I just like Fanatic because as soon as you get Betor outright, you're getting more of that mana. And then you're netting what? 2 soldiers this turn. And then let me think about this. Fanatic is for 4. There's not a world where I can get Betor and Bloodletter right, because that would be 8 total. I'd need 1 more mana. Yeah, I was gonna see if there's a fun world where I can get both out, but I can't. If I did this after combat 4, I could play a 3 mana card, or I guess leave some mana up for Assassin's Trophy or something, right? I think a lot of this is just going to come down to me learning the lines, right? Sitting down, and this is why I think on the channel I preach the play testing so much, is like learning your lines, understanding where you're getting caught up on, and if you see the same things right over and over and over again, sit down, look at your deck, edit those things out so you don't have to worry about them. Eek. Couple in a row, and this isn't good. Couple one landers in a row. I've just found this issue with both Architect and Moxfield at times, but I mean it could also be the issue of land count. That would be one of those ones where I would check the multiple mulligan problem and just see off to have it. Though that was the first time in the almost 20 minutes we've been streaming we've had that issue. So it just comes down to how widespread it is, right? I think we'll 3 visits here. I didn't want to just crank the I didn't just want to crank that Windswept Heath right away or the Catacombs right away. I kind of wanted to see what we were going to draw. Maybe Doran here. And then that's just going to come in tapped. So let's Catacombs for, I guess, the Tomb. I think the biggest thing I forget about Betor is that it draws. So like it's going to draw this turn. Because of its ability, we're at 15. We'd actually probably be at, we're at 12. We'd actually probably be at 17 because of Doran's ability, it would be attacking, right? Here, we're at 6. We can go Angel of Destiny, hold up the Path Exile, go to combat attack. This becomes a 7-9. This becomes a 5-10. So that's 19-25. So we're still going to draw. They're still going to all untap. Now we got some nice stuff out there. I mean, all we're missing is some killer protection. But now it's 7. 2, 5, 4. So that's 11 extra if we attack all this turn. So that's 12, 18, 20, 25, 29. I don't think I have any way to get to 40 this turn that I see. You'd have to go something like, I guess you could all catcher. You could always, do the Aladomri's call. I just can't think of anything in my deck that's going to get us there. Or a board raid would add what, 4 to the board? 3 on its toughness. So that's 10, 15, 21 base. Doran adds 23, 28, 32. And then Ouroboros would add 4. So no, that wouldn't do it. We wouldn't get there. That I'm just trying to think of my, through the cards on my deck, right? What could get us to the 40 threshold this turn? Because we can't Zopen. I mean, we could get a doubler like Zopendrel or that, but it's just we're not going to be able to get it down this turn, right? I'm just trying to rack my brain for 5 mana what you could put down in the deck. I guess you could go for something like Orin Frostfang or something like those that get you some card draw, right? That couldn't be a bad choice here. Just to dig deeper. I guess whatever you get does cost 1 less because of Doran if its toughness is higher. So you could even go for, like, you could look into something like Fukun Green Shell, I guess, if you wanted to, because we have at least 1 or 2 lands in our hand. We could also try to go that. So there's a couple of interesting routes there. I think that's the last playtest we'll do for Betor. I like Betor. I think it's really interesting. I'm excited to actually get it on the tabletop and try it out some more. Like I said before, this version's just a little bit more, a little bit less budget than the one we covered for the channel back in Avatar. Just trying to add some of the cards I would on my own, just to also, like I said, try some new things, adding into the life gain combos, that kind of thing. So let me know down in the comments what you think of Betor, but we'll switch over to the other deck we're going to cover tonight, which is Heibei. Heibei's a deck that, like I said, I find Shrines really interesting. A lot of people, I can tell online, don't, but I think it's interesting. So I've played Go Shintai of Life's Origin for a while. It's a deck I really enjoy, and I got a recent reminder in a comment that I definitely screwed up my original Heibei video from back in Avatar. So I wanted to come back and fix it, and I thought it might be fun to kind of put Heibei through its paces again and see if I would prefer it over Go Shintai. I have to say, I think I am intrigued by the blink aspect of this deck, blinking Heibei and digging deep for those shrines, specifically the shrines you want to see. I think it's interesting. It provides a different line than Go Shintai, where you're just trying to get them in and go kind of wide on the creatures. Obviously, I'm a tokens player, so I love going wide on the creatures, right? But I think it's also really interesting how a couple of our new shrines from Avatar have kind of been going wide on tokens. The Crescent Temple makes the monks, one of them makes the spirits. So it's interesting to kind of see the shrines either create bodies for you to block with or give you bodies to attack with. So I think that's kind of interesting and can lead to some fun. But I think for Heibei here, the hope is to just get it down as quick as we can. I think if either of these were green sources, it'd be such an interesting hand. Going Sanctum Weaver into the Sanctum into Heibei. I don't know that I can keep this one. I'm not sure we're guaranteed to draw a green source. I don't know why we can't see the planes, but I think I'm intrigued to try this one. Man Tower. Planes play the Stone Fang, so everybody's going to lose 1, and we're going to gain 1 this turn. Zur is kind of interesting, right? Zur can animate those shrines, make them into creatures, but here I think you just go Heibei, right, and we immediately draw into 1. So there we go. We still shuffle. And then we would go ahead and pass, right? On our end step, we wouldn't have the mana for Ancient Wars, but coming to the next turn, we're going to go off for 2, right? Everybody's going to lose 2. We're going to gain 2. I mean, I do have the Cloud Shift to blink. What makes the most sense? Do you go like Lost Wisdom plus the Cloud Shift? I almost want to do the Cloud Shift first, because if it's a shrine that has anything to do with entering or anything like that, then the Wisdom can trigger it. So let's do it. Let's bounce the Heibei and let's see what we get ourselves into. We see the Spirit Oasis, which is one that actually will care about shrines coming in. So that is a shrine that says when it comes in, draw a card for each shrine you control, which is 3. And then whenever another shrine comes in, you draw a card. So I've still got 3 mana left. Playing the land, so we'll do Go Shintai, which will draw me a card. And then when it comes in, it makes that shrine token, which will also draw me a card. And then now, this looks better for next turn. We're up to 5 shrines. So this is looking better. This is starting to look pretty good. I think we're probably past that guild pact. And I think we're just off to a good momentum now. We're starting to see the kind of Go Shintai plan for shrine start. Again, if we get another shrine in, we can draw some more cards. I like Crescent here coming in, making 7 monks, because you're going to choose to make the token off of Go Shintai before you resolve this trigger, right? Just guaranteeing yourself the most monks with prowess. So do that. I'm going to draw Tuna cards, right, from the Spirit Oasis, and then we're going to make 1, 2, 3, 7 monks. Still got 2 mana left. I mean, you can play the shrine. I guess you could also hold the pack. You could also animate, one of the shrines with Azur if you want to. This is a really interesting one. We again got a lot of good positives out in getting a bunch of these out. You got a couple that aren't creatures, right? So they're not going to go away. So if somebody were just to wipe the board right now, at least we still have a couple shrines left, and we could continue to run our shrines out, right, to kind of rebuild. Not a bad one. I think obviously you want to see big shrines like Shrine of All and all that good stuff, but you're not always going to see, or Sanctum of All, but you're not always going to see them, right? I guess we have the turn 2 ramp here. We can get one more land. This hand looks really good. We don't, but you never know what you're going to get off of this. We'll go get a black source. Okay, well, we're bailed out by the Sanctum. That's going to help us a ton. This turn, we get to add 1 mana. I'll add a white, because then I can either Ephemerate or Cloud Shift. We'll go ahead and get Heibei. We see Go Shintai, and then let's do Ephemerate, just because it's going to come back on our next turn, and we get Hidden Cruelty. So there we go. On our upkeep, right, we're going to go ahead and bounce Heibei to get its ability. We see the Stonewaters. Now, this is really fun because I just realized I didn't shuffle. This is fun because then this can actually go off this turn. So we're gonna go to main, right? That goes off on your upkeep. So now we got 1, 2, 3, 4 shrines. So we're gonna draw 4, pitch 1, and then net the 4 mana. Love the idea of the Yuna. Right, can help us get them back, or give our creatures the lifelink we want. I think the Oven's probably. What do you add for this? I guess you could go green for this, or this to help get them down. Paradox Haze could be interesting, although we don't really have any upkeep triggers. We do have the Cloud Shift we can blink this with. Well, Blossoms, draw a card. Tranquil, draw a card. That leaves me 3 mana left. I gotta be careful with this white source, because I kind of want to use that Cloud Shift, right? Cryptolith, right? Now we can tap for 1, 2 mana, because remember that Heibei got blinked to this upkeep. You can pass, right? You still have the mana for the Cloud Shift, and you have the 2 mana to tap for the Anguished Unmaking with that mana. We do have the option if we want to take out something this turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 toughness, or have somebody mill 5. But I think I would just wait. Like I said, use the Anguish if I need to. Otherwise, I would just go ahead and Cloud Shift Heibei, just to see. That's not what I was looking for. What we get, right? So then, as we come to our turn, you're drawing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and pitching 1. We're going to actually, draw off the Blossoms when that comes in. You're drawing 6 and pitching 1, and then netting 6 mana. See a nice stack of. Did we have that farmland in our hand last turn and just not play it? Gosh, I'm losing my mind today. So 6 mana. Again, I love the idea of something like Yuna just to pull, pull some of these back, or if somebody destroys one of the shrines, right? I don't have any easy way to blink Hebe at the moment. I don't mind the Stone Fangs here just because, again, it's one of the shrines that can't really be destroyed. It's going to be hard to take out. I guess you could look at something like the Decanter just to stop ourselves from having to pitch to hand size, especially with, us drawing a ton of cards. So, what, 3-2, draw off the Stone Fangs coming in off of Blossoms. And then what, 1, 2, 3, this came in, so we could still tap for 3. Otherwise, this is going to just start to put in work. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Everybody's losing 7. We're gaining 7. We're almost there. I think we just probably just need another turn, and we're already just, mining some good value on that one. I don't know why this basic land isn't loading. The lander here with the War Leader's Call. The Omen will help fix our colors. I don't mind this one. Rockfall Veil and tap. There we go. The Omen will help fix that problem. I think I like the War Leader's Call, just because then you can go Shintai, get the Shrine token, deal out 2 damage. Then my thought is, hey, again, there's another point of damage. We see the Lost Wisdom, another point of damage, and then remember the Goshintai makes the Shrine token when it comes in, another point of damage. This is why I like War Leader's Call with Goshintai. No extra mana, but now we have the Flawless to protect the board. Come back to our turn again. Paradox Haze is great when we see a lot of our Honedins, right? The ones that go off on our upkeep. Same thing with Shrine of, or Sanctum of All, right? Going off on our upkeep. 6 mana here. I tap Hebe, I'm just making 3 1/1s. Thinking of Frost Cliff Siege and the Trample, but really need a way to draw a card, don't I? If I go Wooburg, I'm making 3 1/1s. I still have this. That's 3 damage. I guess that's not as bad as I think it is. Right? It's 3 damage. They all come in as 2/2s because of the War Leader's Call. Come back to this turn. Okay, the Prisms helps. Or the Blossoms helps. Oh, this would have been a better draw than that. All right, and then in hindsight, I think we probably should have just tapped again. 2 mana left. I think you just take your attacks, right? All right, that one felt a little bit, to my opinion, a little bit worse. We didn't see as much of what we would have hoped to. Here we got some lands, you got some ramps, so not looking bad on this one. Exotic Orchard. We'll share the roots. Again, the color doesn't really matter, as we have the fixing coming from the hideout, because it can tap for any color for a shrine. So here, get Hebe in. Let's see what we get first. Obviously, getting yourself something like Sanctum of All is the most ideal, right? We get the Boundless Figure. 5 mana. Again, I would love a way to blink the Hebe. I just don't have one. That, I guess we'll go Cultivate just to dig, to get ourselves through some of the deck. And then we could, on end step, put a couple counters on here since we have 2 shrines. There's Yustola, nice because it gets that double blink on the end step. Would require one of our opponents, I guess, to have blue for the orchard. But the thought is then you just double blink. You double blink Hebe on your end step. Kyoshi's an interesting one here. So those shuffle back in, but it says when it comes in, you look for up to X, basically lands for X's number of shrines. Well, I have 4 shrines, so we can just go ahead and do a bunch of ramping, right? And then, coming to our next turn, 12 mana. Wish we had more to. Oh, sorry. During our upkeep, sorry, we're gonna draw 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. That's pretty nice. Gonna basically buff the entire board. So you could go Shintai into Fruitful into this, and then I think we're just in good shape, getting a bunch of counters. Not looking bad on this one. I think it's just interesting because the hands you see Displacer Kitten, right? You're just really happy, right? Because when you play the shrines, you're obviously the turn you play the shrines, when you play the shrines, you're happy, right? Because then you're blinking. You're blinking Hay Bay for about a ton of value. There's the Calm Waters. Coming back to this turn, get everybody for 2. We'll draw 2. Don't really want to pitch the land. Displacer is going to help us really dig through here, right? So if I Displacer, I don't have enough mana to play a shrine, don't I? I gotta get something like the Harvest in, hold up mana for the trophy. Back to the next turn. Calm Waters is going to draw me 3. I think I can safely pitch something like your rock. I think we're far past it being super helpful right now. And then you're netting 3 mana. So I think I'd use a couple of it for the Displacer Kit and still got 5 left. Non-creature. Or they just call Blink Hay Bay. Oh man, Architect is loving the Go Shintais for me tonight. I've got what, 2 mana left? I guess you could hold this up. Man, I don't know what it is tonight. Architect's just loving these Go Shintai creature shrines. Of all the shrines in the deck you can get, I don't know. I don't know what it is tonight that Architect's just loving them, but I don't know. I think I'm still on the Go Shintai side of the fence, even sitting here now, playtesting it some more. But I think it's interesting to see this side of it because it's interesting to see how your game plan changes when you're just trying to blink and create the value off of Hay Bay. This is an odd odd time to get that Southern Temple. So it comes in, puts a counter on Hay Bay. 2, 3, 4. 1 mana off of Sanctum of All. With that, I only have 2 mana. So I'm thinking about going Shintai plus the Shrine. Whenever a Shrine comes in, you put a counter. So I'm going to do this, and then this is going to come in, giving those guys both a counter and this Shrine a counter. So this is what makes the Southern Air Temple nice because it's going to start buffing the board. And then now I've got 4 mana here because now my thought was something like the Vitality. That leaves me 4 mana. I mean, my thought is you go for the Oasis, you could go for the Island Plaza. Island Plaza would get you what? Make the shrine on it entering 5 basic lands. And I think you're just off to the races. Interesting, playtest tonight. Not going to go as long tonight just because I've got some other stuff I got to do. But my hope is that you enjoy Betor, you enjoy Hay Bay. We'll be running it back next week. I haven't decided yet which we're going to do from next week's content just quite yet. But let me know what you're looking to see, and I